2017, Gundam Versus introduces the vertical dash. 2024, Jujutsu Kaisen Cursed Clash adds Momo Nishimiya post-launch, who introduces vertical dash to the game. 2026, My Hero Academia All's Justice gave it to Bakugo.
You niggas are crazy!
The next My Hero Academia game is here, and Byking is back to show everyone how to make a good arena fighter. Back in March, Shueisha filed a trademark in Japan, Europe, and the US for All's Justice. This was in the typical game categories 9 and 41, and the name immediately stood out to me because it sounded like One's Justice 3. So I did my little detective work, plugged in my method that helped me find Ultra Rumble's website before that went live, and waited. Here we are 3 months later, and My Hero Academia All's Justice has finally been announced. The first thing that stood out to me is that this is Bandai's first game to actually be called My Hero Academia outside Japan. I don't know what issues blocked it for the previous games, but I'm glad they sorted it out. The second thing is the roster. One's Justice 1 ended with 23 characters, and One's Justice 2 nearly doubled that to give us 40 characters at launch, 41 if you count Noble. By the end of One's Justice 2, the series was at 51. In this first trailer alone, at least 11 were shown off. A multi-quirk Deku, 1, maybe 2 Shigarakis, Iron Might, Young All for One, and the rest of Class 1A, including a new Todoroki. We also saw Unbreakable Kirishima and Bakugo as Strafe Panzer, but I don't know if they're actually new characters. See, thanks to smart moveset design, pretty much everyone that has new moves in the anime can have them tossed onto a directional input in the game instead of getting a whole new unneeded variation. Depending on what changes there have been to the battle system this time around, it's way too soon to say for most characters who's actually new and who just got updated. The third and probably biggest thing is there are way more actual cutscenes. Bandai's press release stresses that the game will have a cinematic story while continuing the series tradition of having both a hero and villain side, and I'm actually very worried about that. So far, the One's Justice series has covered 55 episodes of the anime. That leaves 82 from the school festival to the end of season 7, and then however many season 8 will be. From a game dev perspective, covering the remainder in one go is definitely a daunting task, and I'm worried that everything between the school festival and the first war are gonna get skipped. It's a huge toss-up right now, but it depends on when this game started development. I think this has been in the works as early as mid to late 2023, around the tail end of Ultra Rumble, or as late as early 2024. That also further explained why Cursed Clash got outsourced to Gem Drops. Allegedly, a different Jujutsu Kaisen game was in the works and got scrapped. Bandai then turned to Byking to throw something together, and they clearly couldn't be as hands-on because they had Ultra Rumble, All's Justice, and a console port of Magician's Dead all in the works at the same time. So Byking outsourced most of the work on Cursed Clash to Gem Drops, who they previously brought on for Gunslinger Stratos 2. Back on All's Justice, if this game has been in development for as long as I think, that would explain both the roster and the cinematic story. The One's Justice series sold a combined 2.5 million copies worldwide, and Bandai decided to put the second one on fucking Stadia of all things. Also factor in Ultra Rumble hitting 10 million downloads, and there's more than enough reason to let Byking have more time to cook. But that doesn't change that there's still a large chunk of story left to cover. Rebirth of Souls had a similar problem. In my video about it last year, I mentioned that Tamsoft consistently does great cutscene work, and we should look forward to that in Rebirth of Souls. And then it hit me that it was going through more story in one game than any anime fighter ever has. The shit is detailed too. As far as cutscenes go, Tamsoft's best work is either Onechanbara Origin or Utewara Rumino Zan 2. Rebirth of Souls' main story alone is longer than both of them combined. Although you can still see bits and pieces of Tamsoft's solid work, there are so few examples in Rebirth of Souls that it doesn't really matter. Because of that, I wondered how things would have went if the team maintained that cutscene quality at the cost of stopping at the Soul Society arc. Conceptually, that's what All's Justice seems to be doing. It sucks, but I get it. Although the comic book layout fit My Hero perfectly, and using a mix of anime screenshots, redrawn manga panels, all new art, and short 3D cutscenes was cool, that was one of the biggest complaints about One's Justice 1 and 2. Naturally, now that the series is making money, Bandai addressed it. We already saw through the Plus Ultra 2s that Byking can make cool shit, and I can tell that Anima, the company that worked on the better cutscenes in both Xenoverse 2 and One's Justice 2, is here as well. Tiny bit of cope though. This is how they first announced One's Justice 2.
もうあんなことはさせない。
お前のようなやつを直してやる。
余計なお世話だとしても
目障りなんだよ。
必ず助ける。
ヒーロー面するなよ。英雄症候群の病人どもめ。
The game then went on to pick up where the last game left off, and hopefully All's Justice does the same. Now, the big change that I unambiguously do not like is that they turned the game into a tag fighter. Even if we ignore the one coming out soon, the one on the horizon, and the 3 that got announced all in 1 month to make the decision seem less annoying, I just generally don't like tag fighters or assists. I'm not explaining why either, don't worry about it. As long as this shit can be turned off like assists in the last 2 games, and as long as actual 2v2 is better than it was in One's Justice 2, I'll just ignore it, because everything else looks great. That being said, I do have some questions. After the second Ultra Rumble beta, Bandai put out a survey that mentioned teams taking on giant enemies. Was this something actually meant for Ultra Rumble, or were they teasing a Gigantomachia boss fight in All's Justice? On the surface, introducing proper co-op after the nonsense that was One's Justice 2's version might be reason enough to go from One's Justice to All's Justice, because now everybody's working together. We've already seen Byking's take on giants, both playable and otherwise, with the final overhaul fight. That opens the door for us to not only play as and fight Machia, but it also makes it easier for Mount Lady to make it in. The reason that Ultra Rumble had characters like her, Ibarra, and Monoma was because they wanted to add characters that would be difficult to make work in a fighting game. And now that they have an executed idea of how she can fight, it should be easier to control when Mount Lady can grow, as well as provide an option to use her as a giant. Long story short, Knights of Britannia had the right idea with Deanne, and All's Justice may just follow in his footsteps. While I'm on the topic of fleshing out the previous game's concepts, Fat Gum's moveset changed depending on the situation. Since then, Byking took the Dissidia formula a step further in Cursed Clash by giving several characters evolving movesets. And way before both, Gundam Extreme Versus, which Byking CEO Shinichiro Obata is responsible for turning into the greatest arena fighter of all time, had multiple mobile suits that could transform, like the Gundam Alex losing its heavy armor, the Unicorn and Banshee's destroy modes, and the various damage states that the Zeong, Hyakushiki, and Exia can enter. What do you guys think the likelihood is of a lot of these newer variations having or actually being transformations? Specifically Bakugo's Strafe Panzer, because we can see him fighting with and without it with the same quirk specials he already had. Are we getting mid-battle moveset changes? Are we gonna see something like Ultra Rumble's quirk skill sets here? Or are these actual new characters? Before we close this out, there's one last thing I gotta address. Will Vigilantes be in the game? This is kind of a dangerous question for me to answer because I'm probably gonna be wrong, but me being wrong here won't wipe away all the other shit I was right about. Link in the description if you wanna see. I'm gonna go with my gut. Vigilantes will get its own game later, and the most we'll see in All's Justice at launch will be the Crawler, Knuckle Duster, and some costumes. To recap, this is what I'm expecting from All's Justice. If I'm not insane, this has been in active development since around Ultra Rumble's release, early 2024 at the latest. The story will go from the UA Festival to the final battle. Between the blood we see in the trailer and Hagakure basically running around butt-ass naked, this may be another M-rated anime game. If the team reworks and expands the interesting ideas from previous games, we may also see actual 2v2 and co-op alongside the dogshit tag battles. Like I said earlier, One's Justice 2's roster stopped at 51. Ultra Rumble added 4 characters that aren't in One's Justice, and All's Justice already showed off between 9 and 13 out the gate. It is very likely and very realistic that All's Justice will be in the high 70s, low 80s before DLC. There's still Mirko, Spinner, and Star and Stripe at the very least, and possibly the Crawler and Knuckle Duster from Vigilantes as well. I've already got annoyed by and made peace with the fact that they're probably gonna have to fuck up the Star and Stripe fight to fit it in the game. On the bright side, the story might get more giant fights. The costumes from Ultra Rumble will be split between paid DLC and available in-game, the latter of which will still be expensive enough to piss me off because the game won't up the currency we get from finishing matches outside the story. Based on the trend set by Bandai's previous Anime Expo and Anime Expo adjacent announcements, this is going to be out by next spring. Oh, and still no rollback because Bandai forgot Zenkai Battle had it. Although an arena fighter can be a good fighting game, as both Gundam Versus and Rebirth of Souls have proved, I think there's a different area of focus required to specifically make a good arena fighter. And out of all the developers who've been working on them, Byking has been the only one to both understand this and consistently pull it off. 2025 is the 20th anniversary of Mobile Suit Gundam Seed Omni vs. Zaf, the first Gundam Versus game that Byking CEO Shinichiro Obata worked on while he was still at Capcom. Since then, Gundam Versus stuck with that formula, with Bandai going as far as getting Obata to plan Gundam Extreme Versus even after they formed an in-house team for the game and after Obata left Capcom. Gundam Versus would not be the arcade powerhouse it is today without that man. And One's Justice, a series started from a game that he directed, has the potential to surpass it. I'm not even that big of a My Hero fan for real, I just like good ass anime games. If All's Justice keeps the same team as One's Justice 2, including the same director who was also a planner on One's Justice 1, if that story mode is good enough, the top 5 modern greats might get shaken up. My Hero Academia All's Justice is probably gonna be out early to mid next year, and thank God this is not on last gen because we don't need a repeat of this.
Shoto Todoroki. Gonna grind you to dust. Get on the floor like the trash you are.
Yeah, this should never happen again.